Welcome to Animated Movie Recap. Step into the world of animated wonders. Hit subscribe for captivating movie recaps and adventures.
Welcome everyone. Animated movies are usually made for kids, but some of them are crafted with such brilliant writing and broad appeal that they captivate all age groups. These films often touch our hearts and bring out a range of emotions. Today, I want to share with you the story of such a movie. One that's emotional, sensitive, and absolutely enchanting. We've all seen houses in movies, but have you ever heard of a house that flies? Let's dive into this whimsical tale without further ado. The movie starts with a young boy named Carl, watching a film about a famous explorer named Charles Muntz. Muntz was known worldwide for his incredible inventions and unique ideas. Once, he presented a giant bird skeleton to the world, but people called him a fraud, claiming such a bird didn't exist. Heartbroken and determined to prove himself, Charles left everything behind to find the elusive creature. Little Carl, sitting in the theater, dreams of becoming an adventurer just like his idol Charles. One day, while exploring an old house, Carl meets a spirited girl named Ellie, who also dreams of adventure. As they bond over their shared love for exploration, Carl accidentally falls and breaks his arm. That night, Ellie visits him and encourages him, saying everyone needs a spirit of adventure. She shows him her adventure book and shares her dream of visiting Paradise Falls. As they grow older, Carl and Ellie fall in love, get married, and create a beautiful life together. They build a cozy home, lovingly decorating it with their own hands. Their life seems perfect, especially when they learn they're expecting a child. But tragedy strikes when Ellie suffers a miscarriage, leaving the couple heartbroken. Despite their sorrow, Carl and Ellie decide to pursue Ellie's lifelong dream of traveling to Paradise Falls. They save money and plan their trip, even as life's challenges keep getting in the way. The story beautifully unfolds as they navigate their journey together, filled with love, dreams, and the spirit of adventure. Every time Carl and Ellie tried to save money for their Paradise Falls trip, something would come up, and their savings would be used for other necessities. They were a middle-class family, and life's demands always seemed to get in the way. As the years passed, they grew older, but their love remained as strong as ever. Carl was determined to take Ellie to Paradise Falls, but just as he was about to surprise her with the trip, Ellie fell ill and passed away, leaving Carl heartbroken and alone. After Ellie's death, Carl's life changed dramatically. He lived alone, preferring solitude and sticking to a routine that suited his comfort. He wasn't fond of people and rarely interacted with others. The only letters he received were from the city, pushing him to sell his house as the surrounding properties were being turned into malls. Carl refused to give up his home, despite the pressure. One day, a young boy named Russell knocked on Carl's door. Russell was a dedicated wilderness explorer who had camped in various places and was now on his final mission to earn a badge by helping a senior citizen. Despite Carl's reluctance to accept help, Russell was persistent. To get rid of him, Carl made up a story, sending Russell on a wild goose chase to find a non-existent creature named Snipe. As Carl's frustration grew, he accidentally damaged his mailbox while confronting a construction worker. The police intervened, and it was decided that Carl, now deemed too old to live alone, would be moved to a retirement home. Feeling utterly desolate, Carl stumbled upon Ellie's adventure book. As he flipped through its pages, he found that Ellie had documented their life together, filling it with happy memories. Inspired by her spirit, Carl resolved to fulfill her dream of reaching Paradise Falls. The next morning, when the retirement home staff arrived to take Carl away, he told them he would follow behind. Instead, Carl spent the night inflating thousands of helium balloons. As the staff waited outside, Carl's house, lifted by the balloons, rose into the sky, beginning an extraordinary journey to Paradise Falls. Carl's house, lifted by thousands of balloons, soared over the city, catching the attention of every passerby. Carl had even installed fans to steer the house towards South America. As he settled into his journey, someone knocked on the door. It was Russell, who had come back to help. Carl couldn't just throw him out in midair, so he let him stay. Though Russell's antics quickly got on Carl's nerves. As they continued their journey, a violent storm hit. The powerful winds and turbulence sent the house tumbling, damaging everything inside. The next morning, Carl woke up to find Russell had managed to keep the house stable during the chaos, though some of the house was damaged. Despite this, Carl was still determined to get rid of Russell. When they finally landed, they found themselves amidst towering mountains, far from any forest or city. As Carl nearly fell, he managed to hang onto a pipe, saving the house from falling. In the distance, Carl saw his dream destination, Paradise Falls, but it was still far away. Russell suggested they pull the house to Paradise Falls if they couldn't fly it there. Reluctantly, Carl agreed. They tied themselves to the house and began the arduous task of dragging it through the jungle. Along the way, they encountered a pack of talking dogs equipped with collars that allowed them to speak. These dogs were searching for something, and soon enough, Russell and Carl were caught up in their pursuit. Russell, ever the curious boy, discovered chocolate in his backpack, which the dogs were particularly interested in. As they navigated through the dense forest, Carl realized that reaching Paradise Falls was going to be much harder than he had imagined. But with Russell's help and determination, they continued their adventure, facing challenges and making new discoveries along the way. As Carl and Russell continued their journey, Russell called out, realizing that the bird he had found earlier was no ordinary bird, but a gigantic one. Russell, excitedly, brought this news to Carl, who was already frustrated and wanted to get rid of the bird. However, the bird, named Kevin by Russell, wouldn't leave their side and continued to follow them. As they moved forward, they saw several mountains that resembled the shapes of dogs. Suddenly, a special lead dog named Alpha appeared and started talking to them, which shocked Carl and Russell. They learned that Alpha was part of a pack of talking dogs searching for the giant bird. Despite Carl's initial resistance, Russell insisted that they keep Kevin with them. While they continued their journey, Alpha and the other dogs, realizing Kevin was with them, started chasing them. Russell and Carl tried to evade the dogs by distracting them with sticky balls and pieces of chocolate. As they progressed, the dogs caught up with them again. Russell then revealed that he had named the bird Kevin. Night fell, and they set up camp. Carl tried to be tough, but eventually warmed up to Russell, especially after Russell opened up about his troubled home life. Russell admitted he didn't know how to set up a tent and revealed that his father was always busy and his stepmother didn't talk to him. Carl felt sympathy for Russell and started to care for him like a father would. In the morning, Carl panicked when he couldn't find Russell, only to discover that Russell had taken some food from the house. They continued their adventure, navigating through various obstacles and challenges. As they moved forward, the bond between Carl, Russell, and Kevin grew stronger, and they realized that their journey was more than just about reaching Paradise Falls. It was about finding family and friendship in the most unexpected places. Carl and Russell discovered that Kevin, the giant bird, was actually a female with babies calling for her. As they tried to figure out what to do, a pack of dogs led by Alpha and his friends arrived to capture Kevin. Kevin perched on Carl's house, while Carl and Russell found themselves in a tricky situation. The dogs took them to a large camp full of dogs, led by none other than Charles Muntz, the famous explorer. Carl was thrilled to meet his hero, Charles, and eagerly accepted an invitation to dinner. During dinner, Charles explained how he had spent years trying to prove the existence of the giant bird, and how no one believed him. He showed Carl and Russell maps and a skeleton, revealing his obsession with capturing the bird, dead or alive. Carl began to realize that Charles was not the noble explorer he had imagined, but someone willing to go to any lengths to capture Kevin. When Russell blurted out that the bird looked just like Kevin, Charles became suspicious and decided not to let them leave. Carl and Russell, sensing danger, made a quick escape with Kevin. As they ran, Kevin helped them navigate the area, but the other dogs were close behind, trying to capture them. Carl and Russell realized they couldn't carry the heavy house and run at the same time, so they quickly devised a plan. Carl strapped himself and Russell to Kevin, and they made a daring escape, with Kevin leading the way. The other dogs chased them relentlessly, trying to bring them down, but Kevin proved to be their guide and protector. Despite the challenges, Carl, Russell, and Kevin forged ahead, determined to reach Paradise Falls and protect each other from Charles and his pack of dogs. Just then, a fierce dogfight broke out in the dense forest. Although Carl and Russell managed to carry Kevin up the hill, she was injured, and her leg was badly hurt, making it difficult for her to walk. Russell insisted that they needed to help Kevin since she had saved their lives. Despite his initial reluctance, Carl tended to Kevin's wounds and allowed her to rest in the house. As they continued their journey, Russell was happy to see Carl showing some compassion. They eventually brought Kevin close to her home. Just as they were about to release Kevin, Charles Muntz tracked them down using his advanced equipment and captured Kevin with a net. At the same time, Charles set Carl's house on fire. Carl faced a tough choice: save Kevin or his burning house. In the end, he chose his house, allowing Charles to take Kevin away. Russell was furious and accused Carl of not being a good person, saying he should have helped Kevin instead. Frustrated and heartbroken, Carl snapped at Russell and the dogs, telling them to leave. The balloons holding the house aloft began to deflate, and the house slowly descended to the ground. The next morning, Russell angrily removed his senior citizen assistance badge, declaring he didn't need to help Carl anymore. Carl retreated into his house, surrounded by memories of Ellie. He realized that his house no longer floated, and that he might never reach Paradise Falls. Flipping through Ellie's adventure book, Carl discovered something profound. The most important part of his life was not the house or the adventure, but the time he spent with Ellie. Determined to fulfill Ellie's dream, Carl decided to let go of the past. He threw out all the heavy furniture and belongings from the house to lighten the load. With the house now lighter, it began to float once again. Just then, Carl saw Russell flying away with some balloons, trying to rescue Kevin on his own. Carl realized that the true value of life was not in the material things, but in the relationships and adventures shared with loved ones. Remembering Ellie's dream, he set off to rescue Kevin and help Russell, understanding that fulfilling the dream meant cherishing the present and helping those in need. Because of this, Carl changes his mind and decides to help Russell. Cleaning up the house, Carl notices it's not just Russell in trouble, but also the dogs. Meanwhile, Russell, using the balloons, reaches Charles Muntz's plane and tries to free Kevin. However, Charles captures Russell. When he discovers the boy has sneaked aboard, he realizes Carl might be on his way as well. To distract Charles, Carl arrives just in time to save Russell from falling. He then tells Russell to stay put while he rescues Kevin. With the help of Doug, Carl reaches the section of the plane where Kevin is tied up, but several guard dogs stand in his way. Carl uses a tennis ball to distract them, locking the dogs out and freeing Kevin. During this, Russell, trying to help from outside, nearly falls, but grabs onto a pipe. Charles, piloting the plane, sends his fighter dogs to attack. Carl fights Charles fiercely to protect Kevin. The fight intensifies as they struggle, and they accidentally release a set of helium balloons, causing them to rise rapidly. Doug helps fend off the remaining dogs. As the plane crashes, Carl and Russell manage to guide it safely to the ground. Carl secures Kevin, and together, they make their way back to Paradise Falls. Upon arrival, they realize that while the adventure was significant, the relationships and bonds they formed were the real treasures. Carl, Russell, and Kevin's journey underscores the importance of companionship and helping one another, teaching us that true adventure lies not in the destination, but in the shared experiences along the way. In the end, Kevin reunites with her children, and everyone is overjoyed. Doug decides he wants to stay with Carl and Russell, and they welcome him into their family. Carl also finds a new sense of belonging and purpose. They return to the city where a function is being held to present a badge for helping a senior citizen. Carl proudly steps up and presents the badge to Russell, acknowledging his bravery and help. Russell's achievements are recognized, and Carl finds a new family in Russell and Doug. In the movie's final scenes, we see their house standing proudly at Paradise Falls, fulfilling Carl and Ellie's dream. This heartwarming conclusion signifies that true adventure lies in the relationships we build and cherish. The movie ends on this touching note, emphasizing love, friendship, and the fulfillment of dreams. So what did you think of this movie? Let me know your thoughts. See you all in the next movie review. Until then, take care.